Welcome to Built for This, the podcast where real estate meets real life skills. Hosted by Andrea Lane and Alyssa Bicar, each episode features investors turning their unique edge into long-term rental success.
Hello and welcome to the Built for This podcast. I am Alyssa Bicar, the consultress, co-host to the amazing Andrea Lane, the fearless real estate investor. Together, we bring on real-time, real people who are doing real estate investing and bringing all of themselves in the business sense and in the personal sense to what makes them a success as a real estate investor. So Andrea, who do we have for him today?
So today we have David O. I'm not going to pronounce his last name. That's beyond me. But Dave lives in the St. Louis, Missouri area, and that's where he does his investing. He owns 20 rentals. One of them happens to be a short term. He also is a real estate agent. And when asked which started first, the chicken or the egg, he sort of put them together for me. So that was pretty interesting. David, thank you so much for being on our podcast. We really appreciate it.
Andrea, Alyssa, it's my pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
So I asked the same question from everybody. Why did you get into real estate investing?
Yeah, it's a great question. And it stems from being burned out at the typical path, right? So I was told, like most people, go to college, get a degree, get a job. And I spent 12 years in the corporate world as a software engineer, just climbing the corporate ladder and just banging my head against the keyboard, right? Countless number of meetings and emails and conference calls. And I was like, there's got to be a better way. How do I, retire early is the question I started asking. And, all of the typical paths to that is like, talk to your financial advisor, start investing in your 401k, start, plan for saving and all these things. And when I looked into that, it was like, hey, it's probably going to take another 35 years, Dave, before you can actually retire and do something with your life that you want to do. And over and over again, people kept mentioning real estate. And that's what really got, I got bit by the bug. I started listening to podcasts and YouTube videos. And I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, of course. And I was like, okay, this is the vehicle that I've been looking for that can potentially retire me early and get me out of this corporate 9 to 5 that I hated so much.
That's great.
Yeah.
What do you love most about it now that you're in it and been playing there for a while?
I just love the freedom, right? And it's just, being able to make your own schedule, not having to answer to anyone else. Some days there is a lot of work to do. Other days, I'm out playing golf and pickleball and at the lake and enjoying life, and things are kind of on autopilot. And so I love the flexibility of just being able to work from home, be with my kids, my family, do things that I like to do, and not be tied to a desk or a job that is just sucking away my life.
I think that's what most people want when they get into real estate, right? They think they get in and they have no job. Well, nothing's passive. There's always something,
Sure.
but it allows you the freedom to decide when you're going to spend the time doing it. I love it.
Absolutely.
And I, first of all, high five for escaping the rat race. Yeah. And like you, early in my career, I was certified as a financial planner. Like, this is the way to do it. This is how it works. And the more you figure out, the more you realize you don't know. And so after, pulling and pulling and pulling at that scarf to come out, the never ending knot of multicolored scarves, I'm like, I don't think this is for me. I don't know that, first of all, as a profession, but second of all, as a way to really, truly build the wealth. Because I come from entrepreneurial stock and I come from a family that invested in residential rentals and commercial rentals. So I'm like, something's not adding up. Like, the story's not proving out here. So, when you kind of saw that shift for yourself, like, what was the turning point for you? What was the piece of the story that was like, I know I need to make a change? Can you like zoom into that experience and going, okay, I'm calling it and making a change now?
Well, yeah, I mean, it was one moment, and I remember it very clearly. So over the course of 12 years, I got 5 promotions at my company. And the very last promotion I had gotten, I had received a 5% raise, and I argued with HR saying, I wanted to get higher. And they said, hey, we cap our promotions at 5% for internal, hires and stuff like that. So there was no getting past 5%. Well, a week into my job, my new role, my boss called me into his office and he said, hey, Dave, I noticed you've only been working 40 hours a week. And I was like, yeah, that's kind of what you're paying me for. And he's like, well, no, you're considered management now. And I expect my managers to work 50 to 60 hours a week. And that's when I hit the freaking wall because I went back to my desk and I was like, this math doesn't make sense. I just got a 5% raise and you're asking me to work 25% more hours. Like I am done with this. Like this is no longer a thing. And as scary as investing in my first real estate deal is and was, what was more scary to me was staying in that job for another 35 years and just wasting my life away, right? I went to a Tony Robbins conference and he talks about leveraging your fear. And I remember in that moment, it was like, I'm more afraid of being stuck in this job than I am failing at real estate. So I'm going to take the leap. I'm going to take the jump and buy that first investment property and start down that path.
I love it. I love it. I was in corporate America for 37 years. I absolutely loved what I did. I had a great career. I loved it. I was having a fabulous time. When it was time to go because they wanted me to move or I had to take a package, I'm like, bye. It's time to
Yeah,
part ways. And so real estate's always been in my back pocket, right? I've been doing this for 40 plus years. So it's always been, I don't care if you want me or not want me. I'm free to do what I want. But I liked what I did. I did find when I retired officially, I love it even more, having the freedom to every day make a decision on what I want to do. So I get it.
sure.
100%. That's great.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. So how did your professional skills and your technology business sort of lend yourself into the real estate business? How did that swim in?
Yeah, so I mean it went from, one of the things is like as a software engineer, a computer programmer, I'm sitting there at my job, debugging thousands and thousands of lines of code. It's very complex stuff that I was doing, but the whole time the reason I hadn't gotten into real estate yet was I thought it was too complicated and too hard and like how am I going to manage a tenant? How am I going to fix a toilet when the toilet's clogged? And it's like it's kind of silly when you think about it that I have all these skills, like I can figure out how to do the simple management of a tenant, like it's not that hard. But I was kind of stuck in there. But yeah, the technology skills really helped because I was able to set up a CRM. I was able to start tracking my and measuring my results and my outputs and being able to predictably say, okay, if I make these 10 calls, I should be able to get somebody on the phone and I should be able to go on an appointment. And if I get this many appointments, I'm going to close this many deals. And so that and the systems I was able to set up really helped because I had that technology background.
Oh, I love that. Because when we bring, excuse me, you found a way to leverage like fungible skills, right? They transcend industry. And you're like, this is really complicated.
Yeah.
Actually, what I'm doing is really complicated. So
Right.
this shouldn't be that hard.
Yeah.
And you got to break it down. And that's pretty much what I like. Our next question is about like your unfair advantage, the thing that gives you that competitive edge that helps you to not only master your real estate investment business, but then what else do you get to bring to the table that leverages all those skills?
Yeah. Yeah, unfair advantage. For me, there's one thing that sticks out, and that's that I was not going to quit. I just don't have a quit in me because of that fear of having to go back to my job. And the first deal I did was an absolute nightmare. Bought a house from a wholesaler, was trying to do the Burr method. He told me it's 20 grand to make it rent ready. Went in there and found problem after problem after problem and turned out to be like a $55,000 renovation. I had used all my own personal cash. So my family savings account that we had saved for me and my wife, 12 years of working in corporate, was 90 grand when I started that deal. And it was down to zero 6 months later. And I was just laying awake at night trying to figure out like how I'm gonna afford the next thing that went wrong at this property. But the whole time, I kind of joke with my friends and family saying, "Hey, if I go broke in real estate, you're not, when you see me on the side of the highway with my cardboard sign, it's going to say I buy houses." Like that's how committed, it's how committed I am to making this work. And today, I mean, looking back on it, losing money on that first deal was such a blessing because I learned all of these skills. I got a PhD on how to flip a house. I didn't even know that's what was taking place at the time. But since then, my wife and I have been able to do several flips that have netted 100K or more profit. And we would have never had the skills to do that had we not lost money on the very first deal and had that mindset of I'm not giving up, right? Because most people would quit. Most people would say, "Hey, real estate doesn't work for me. Like it didn't. I tried it and I lost a bunch of money, right?" So I think that's probably the unfair advantage that I had, and that I try to inspire other people to keep going, keep growing from any mistakes that you're making.
It's the best way
I
to
love it.
learn.
I love it. My first deal was um, a very interesting, and it was our fault, right? We did a rehab. Now, I've owned rentals for years, but I wasn't in the rehab business. And our first rehab we did, we bought a property that would have made us a fortune if we did it the way we planned, but we didn't. Most of it was me. I'm like, oh, that doesn't look good. We should change it. And then my partner said, well, what about this? And what about so this house was absolutely magnificent when we were done. We made $5,000 on the deal. Glad we made any money, and the only reason we did was the market changed. So I get learning from your deal because I can teach people about what they should and shouldn't do now because I made so many mistakes, right? So that's fabulous. That's a great way to learn.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, and now in the spirit of mistakes, what has been your biggest challenge or struggle lately in real estate investments?
Biggest challenge or struggle lately? That's a good question. Um, I would say just with all the like rising costs that we've seen happening. So like, just from a few years ago, interest rates have doubled. The price of labor's gone up, materials have gone up, insurance has gone up, taxes have gone up. And so it's like, how do you compensate for that? Many of my leases did not have sufficient enough rent escalators in there to kind of keep up with all of these rising costs. So I'd say that's probably one of the biggest challenges is trying to reposition some of our properties to kind of keep up with the inflation and the cost of expenses going up.
Yeah, and I think a lot of us are feeling it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, a sobering moment is that, I didn't build for this. I didn't plan for this. My underwriting, my numbers were off. Now I got to go back and readjust and refocus. Like, I think
Yeah.
this is one of those things as you build your investment business as a true business, not necessarily just a pile of bricks and having an asset, but putting your strategic thinking hat on and saying, okay, let me go revisit, review, because we make plans and God laughs. So we make plans, we run our underwriters, we do what we do, we take our risks, and then the earth moves, the market shifts, things go as unexpected. I love the savings account and the cardboard sign on the end of the road. But what I love is that staying agile and saying, okay, how do I review this? Because right now, a plan. One of my friends and colleagues says, planning is important, but the plans become irrelevant as soon as you publish them. So once
Yeah.
you're done with that plan, you're already water down the river. So review is more important over time to be able to stay on track or to catch and figure out
Yeah.
when you're off track. So I love that your approach here is, to continue to look at things as they shift and change. Do we need a new exit strategy? Does our original underwriting still make sense? How do we look at this in terms of like risk factors? What do we have more increased risk here now?
Yeah.
So, any response to all that, like as you're
Yeah.
navigating some of these challenges to pay forward to our
Absolutely.
listeners?
Yeah. When you said that, have you ever heard the quote from Mike Tyson about that?
No.
So he says, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. you
Yeah.
know, and that's what I think of when, nobody was underwriting for interest rates to double. We're underwriting and we're conservative. We're saying, hey, worst case can be a 1% higher than than it was right now. So nobody's underwriting that for that. So when those things happen, yeah, you've got to come up with a new plan. You've got to reorganize, and that's why some of our properties we've turned into from long-term rentals to mid-term rentals or to short-term rentals because we had to increase that income to kind of offset the higher expenses that we were experiencing with them.
Yeah. And we've actually had a bunch of guests on here that were like, maybe this isn't a long-term rental anymore.
Sure.
So you have a mix of assets in your portfolio. You told us in the green room before we started recording. How did that diversification come to be for you?
Yeah, so in the beginning, I was all just long-term rentals, never thought I would get into the headaches of managing anything shorter term. But a game changer for me in my business is because I had my license, I was being sought out as an agent to help other investors. And so I built this big list of investors that were using me as their agent to buy and sell, and I could peer in to see what they were doing in their investment business. And so many people were having success, Andrea, with these midterm rentals, these short-term rentals, and like I was like, hey, this is I could easily do this. This property that they're having so much success with, I've got a similar one. It's just on a 12-month lease. And so we started rolling some of those into that and taking advantage of it. I would have never had the confidence to pull something like that off had I not been so close to some of these deals with these other investors, just earning a commission on them. And so I was kind of getting paid to get an education and get opened up to these other opportunities.
Awesome.
That's great.
Yeah. Andrea, do you have something to add here?
No, I love the fact that it sort of melded both your investment skills with your real estate agent business to make it work. I think it's the right way to go. And I'm hearing more and more about how midterm really has been profitable in many locations, which is forcing me to think, what can I change to a midterm rentals?
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. And it seems like you've put together a nice portfolio for yourself. Are you looking to grow that more, or are you satisfied with kind of the number of units you have right now?
Yeah, that's a good question. Like when I started, door count was like this big thing that you set a huge goal, right? I want to have 100 doors or 1,000 doors. And, as I got into this, I kind of realized like, I think a smaller number of doors that are completely paid off was kind of more my sweet spot. Like I want to have less doors, but more profitable doors. And so, 20 is a pretty comfortable spot for me. I'd love to have 20 paid off. We have been working on paying off a couple of them. So we've got 3 of them paid off right now. And it's just, I'll add a rental or two as I come across them throughout the year. But we're not like super aggressive with it. We kind of have like a nice portfolio that's throwing off cash and appreciating and very, very happy with what we're doing right now.
Oh, I I got this sense of peace as I was listening to you. Oftentimes when I'm listening to like growth strategies and acceleration and acquisition, I get this like almost like this out of breath feeling. And as you were
Yeah.
talking about, grow and let go of some of those notions of like I have to blow it up, I have to have 1 million doors.
Yeah.
Um, Growth and success can feel really even keel. And I want to just highlight and applaud you for recognizing that a house that's maybe has less leverage reduces your risk over time and feeling that
Absolutely.
that was,
Yeah.
I got this sense of like, oh,
Yeah.
growth feels so good here.
Yeah. Well, and some of it might be my experience. So as an agent, what's beautiful is like I'm seeing other people's businesses firsthand. And so I've worked with many investors that have outgrew themselves. They've built a 100 door portfolio and it's all, they've got a portfolio loan from a commercial lender across all the properties. So they can't just sell one. Now they're forced to sell the whole lot of them. And it's very stressful to manage and keep up with all that. And the mortgage payments become, so overwhelming when you're 80% leveraged. And it was like, I don't want that life of worry and stress of always trying to make sure I'm going to satisfy my creditors. Like I'd rather just own them free and clear. And if I don't need to raise rent this year with this tenant, I don't have to, because my costs aren't going up with the interest rates and all that.
Yeah, it's very important that you understand all the all the intricacies. Most people don't, right? They go into it. I like a lot of rentals. I like single families personally. But you need to understand what you're getting into when you get in the ball of wax, right? And why you're in it. Because if you're in it just to make a living, you have a number. If you want to make enough to enjoy your vacations, it's a different number, right? And if you want to really have a legacy, it's a different number. So I think it depends on what your goal is as to what you're going to grow into. You know, not everybody has to buy 100 units to make it work. Most people, 10 units over 10 years will solve their problems, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I love that number.
It's
Buy
pretty
one
easy.
house a year for 10 years, and that's
Yep.
going to do amazing things. You're going to become wealthy from
Yeah.
doing just that. And it's so simple, so easy. It's not stress of buying, hundreds of doors. It's just one house a year.
Yep.
Yeah.
And when you want to retire and that 10 houses is probably paid off by then,
Yep.
you just have your income coming from there and anything else is a bonus.
Right.
So yeah, I love that.
Super cool.
Uh,
So
go ahead, Melissa.
I just wanted to thank you again for being here because, we have so many different flavors of entrepreneurs and investors that are here. And, after our own hearts, doing this from a place of what is it bringing to me? How do I want to live? And what do I need to do that? It sounds like you have that really well balanced.
Thank you.
Yeah. And you
Yeah.
can feel it.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you for having me on. I'm really excited. And, Um, yeah, it's kind of a free gift for your listeners. One of the things I wanted to talk about was the book I wrote earlier this year called Investor Friendly Agent. So what's really been a game changer for me is being able to use my real estate license to help other investors. Now, of course, owning 20 rentals that gave me the security, right, to be able to leave my corporate job. But what's given me a tremendous amount of income is the methods in this book that I talk about. In fact, I've won the EXP Icon Award 4 years in a row now. That's given to agents that gross over $500,000 in commissions a year. So this is a game changer. And if you guys want a free copy of the book, all you have to do is go to freeagentbook.com. You'll get the PDF and the audio and kind of help you unlock some of the secrets about using that license to generate a lot of commissions.
Bang! I mean, you heard it here. He's doing
Yeah.
amazing things for himself, paying it forward, and kind of showing how the sausage is made. This is so good. So as we're wrapping up our interview, what exciting plans do you have in line in your purview over the next 6 to 12 months?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that. So the reason we're giving away the book, guys, is because I feel like having investor friendly agents, and in the book you'll read, we call them real estate investment advisors, is such a critical need for just the average American. Right now, the average American's investing in Wall Street and stocks and bonds and mutual funds or 401k, and there's still a lot of people dependent on Social Security, which is supposed to run out by the year of 2034. So there's a huge need for the average American to invest in real estate. And this book teaches you as an investor how to leverage getting a license and helping all of these people invest and increase that cash flow on your end from commission income. But yeah, the big exciting thing is we're trying to get this book out to as many people as possible. I imagine in the future we have hundreds and thousands of people implementing the strategies from this book across the nation, and really giving the average American access for the first time, legitimate access to real estate investing as a vehicle, which they just don't have today. Because, like you said, the CFPs and the financial advisors, they don't let you invest in real estate. Everything that they invest in has to be on Wall Street, right? Which we have zero control over. People are losing trust in that. And then the other thing is that the average real estate agent, 90% of them don't invest in real estate themselves. So they're not qualified to help these people invest. All they know how to do is write a contract and sell a property, not do all the due diligence that an investor needs you to do to make sure it's going to be a profitable investment for them. So this book, I'm really excited to get that out and inspire hundreds and thousands of people over the coming years to become investment advisors for people to help them get into real estate.
Man after my own heart. I got my license first. My family was in the business, but I was like, you know what? I need to see this from like the boots on the ground that everybody knows about first. So I love what you're up to, and that you're empowering agents and real estate investors together. Seems like you have a lot of unfair advantages, Davo. Andrea, any last words before we wrap up?
Yeah, no, I just have to say, I did read his book, and it's well worth your time to spend the time to read. I'm a very fast reader. It did not take me long at all, and he's got a wealth of information. So just
awesome. Thank you so much.
You heard it here. It's endorsed. Go get it. freeagentbook.com. And if you are binging this podcast, stay tuned. We have another amazing guest lined up for you right after this. Don't go away.
This wraps another episode of Built for This. If you're a real estate investor with a unique edge, apply to join us at builtforthisshow.com/guest.